Okay, so you want to own a vending machine route. Buy a few machines, drop them in busy spots, collect cash every week while you sleep. That's the pitch you've seen 100 times online. Here's the real number behind that pitch. Just over half of all vending machine operators control barely 7% of total industry sales. Read that again. 52% of the people in this business are splitting 7% of the money. Somebody is making real money in vending. It almost certainly isn't the person who bought two machines and called it passive income. The gap between those two outcomes isn't luck. It's a specific set of decisions, most of which have nothing to do with the machine itself. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates a hobby that quietly loses money from a real, scalable route business, and why the machine itself is the least important part of the equation. Let's start with what you're actually buying. A vending machine is not a business. A vending machine is a piece of equipment. The business is everything around it. The locations, the routes, the logistics, the relationships. You can own the exact same machine as a successful operator and still lose money every single month because the machine was never the product. The location was always the product. Industry data consistently shows that location quality alone determines 70 to 80% of a machine's revenue, not the snacks you choose, not the price you set, where the machine physically sits. Now let's talk about what it actually costs to get one machine running. A basic refurbished snack or drink machine runs $1,500 to $3,000. A newer machine with card readers and remote monitoring can run $5,000 to $10,000. Specialty machines, coffee, frozen food, micro markets push toward the higher end of that range or beyond it. Then there's inventory. Every machine needs to launch fully stocked, which means several $100s in product sitting inside the machine before you've made a single sale. Add a hand truck or a small vehicle to actually service the route, a cash bag and coin counter if you're not fully cashless, and basic liability insurance in case a machine malfunctions on someone else's property. For one single machine, you're realistically looking at $2,000 to $12,000 all in, depending on the equipment tier. That doesn't sound catastrophic, and it isn't for one machine. The catastrophe shows up when you scale it wrong. Some new operators finance a batch of machines all at once through equipment loans, assuming revenue will simply appear proportionally as fast as the equipment does. It doesn't. Building relationships with property owners, negotiating fair commissions, and actually finding locations worth having takes real time, often months per solid placement, while the loan payment on financed equipment starts immediately regardless. Financing the machines is easy. Financing the empty months while you're still finding somewhere good to put them is the actual risk. Here's the twist almost every beginner misses completely. You are not really running a vending business. You are running a route logistics business that happens to use vending machines as the product delivery mechanism. Think about what actually eats your time and money. It's not standing at the machine, it's driving to it. Every location you add is another stop on a route, another set of restocking trips, another set of collection visits. A single machine in a decent location can be genuinely profitable in isolation. 10 scattered machines spread across an entire city can somehow lose money overall purely because of how much time and fuel it takes to service them all. This is why experienced operators obsess over route density, clustering machines geographically, so a single service trip can hit 5 or 6 locations back to back, instead of one machine per exhausting drive across town. Route optimization software can cut service time by 25 to 40%, simply by sequencing stops intelligently. That's not a minor efficiency game. That's the difference between a route that pays you and a route that pays your gas station. Now, location, because this is genuinely the whole game. A well-placed machine, hospital waiting room, factory break room, university dorm can generate $800 to $1,500 a month in gross revenue. A poorly placed machine, a quiet office lobby, a half-empty small building might bring in $50 to $150 a month. Same machine, same snacks, completely different business. And here's the part that trips up new operators. You don't own that location. You're a guest in it. Most placement agreements involve paying the property owner a commission, typically 5 to 25% of your gross sales, just for the right to keep your machine there. Negotiate that commission poorly or agree to it without understanding your own margins first, And a location that looks busy on paper can quietly become one where you're working for free. There's also a trap buried inside a rising commission structure. Say you agree to a 20% commission on a machine doing $500 a month. That's $100 a month to the property owner. Improve your product mix and traffic grows the machine to $800 a month. Your commission payment jumps to $160, which sounds fine until you remember you did all the work to grow that revenue. And the property owner's cut grew right along with it, automatically, for doing nothing extra. Good locations are genuinely valuable, and the property owners increasingly know it. Let's talk about the actual margins on the product itself, because there's a wide gap between gross margin and what you actually keep. Gross margin on vending products commonly runs 50 to 70%. Sounds great until you subtract everything layered on top of it. Product cost itself is 30 to 50% of the sale price. Location commission takes another 5 to 25% off the top. Card processing fees on cashless transactions. Now the majority of sales industry-wide take 2 to 4%. Fuel and transportation to service the route eats into what's left. And machine maintenance, repairs, replacement parts has to be budgeted for constantly, because a broken machine earns exactly $0 for every single day it sits unrepaired. After all of that, realistic net profit margins land around 20 to 35%, not the gross figure that first caught your attention. Now let's talk about the different kinds of machines you could actually be running, because vending machine covers wildly different businesses. Standard snack and drink machines are the entry point almost everyone starts with. Cheapest equipment, most locations available, lowest revenue ceiling per unit. Coffee machines can command a premium price per cup and build habitual daily customers, but need more frequent servicing because coffee ingredients spoil faster than a bag of chips. Micro markets, small open shelving setups with self-checkout kiosks instead of a locked machine, and generate significantly higher revenue per location because customers aren't limited to what fits behind a small glass door, but they require far more trust in the location and a much higher upfront investment. Specialty machines, frozen food, healthy snacks, electronics, even flowers can carve out premium pricing in the right niche location, but the market for each is smaller and more fragile. Each category is a genuinely different business wearing the same coin slot. There's also a structural choice sitting underneath all of this. Build your route independently or buy into an established vending franchise. A vending franchise typically provides brand recognition, standardized equipment sourcing, and sometimes a support network for negotiating locations. That comes with an upfront franchise fee, often ranging from $10,000 to $50,000, plus an ongoing royalty on your gross sales, commonly 5 to 8%. An independent operator keeps every dollar of margin, but builds every location relationship entirely from scratch, with no brand recognition to lean on. The franchise trade only makes sense if the brand and support system genuinely help you secure better locations faster than you could on your own. For a business this dependent on personal relationships with property owners, that value proposition is far less certain than it is for a restaurant or retail franchise. Now let's talk about psychology, because it quietly shapes every decision in this business. A vending machine is an impulse purchase machine by design. Nobody plans their day around a specific vending machine. They walk past it, feel a small craving, and act on it within seconds. That means product placement inside the machine matters enormously. Eye-level slots consistently outsell bottom row slots for the exact same product, sometimes by a significant margin, simply because less effort is required to notice and choose them. Price psychology matters too. A price that feels like a clean, simple number moves faster than an oddly specific price that forces a customer to think, even for a second. The best operators treat their machine like a tiny, constantly optimized retail store, rotating slow movers out, promoting fast movers to eye level, and adjusting the mix by location, because a gym vends completely differently than a factory break room. Here's the part of this industry that deserves real caution. For years, the Federal Trade Commission has taken enforcement action against companies selling vending machine business opportunities, promising buyers guaranteed, pre-secured, high-traffic locations in exchange for a large, upfront, franchise-style fee. In several documented cases, those promised locations either didn't exist, weren't actually secured, or turned out to be far less profitable than advertised, leaving buyers holding expensive equipment with nowhere good to put it. In some of these cases, Buyers were sold entire fleets of machines, 10, 20, 30 units at once, on the promise that a network of prearranged locations would be provided immediately after purchase. When those locations turned out to be thin, low quality, or simply non existent, buyers were left with a garage full of expensive equipment and no realistic way to place it profitably on their own. This is the single most common way people lose real money in this industry, not through bad snacks or a broken machine, but by paying a large sum up front for a location promise that was never real in the first place. If anyone is selling you a vending route with guaranteed locations included in the price, that guarantee is exactly the thing you should be most skeptical of. Real locations are earned through direct negotiation with real property owners, one relationship at a time. Nobody can hand you a prepackaged route for a fee without you independently verifying every single location yourself. So how does someone actually build a genuinely profitable route instead of falling into either the low income trap or the business opportunity scam trap? The honest answer is slowly and one relationship at a time. Experienced operators typically start with 1 to 3 machines, often placed through direct cold outreach to businesses, manufacturing facilities, and offices, trading a favorable commission structure for the certainty of steady foot traffic. They track every single metric obsessively. Which products sell, which don't. Which days generate the most revenue? Which locations are worth defending if a competitor tries to move in? Then they reinvest profit into additional machines specifically chosen to sit near their existing route, rather than scattered wherever the next deal happens to come from. Seasonality matters more than most beginners expect, too. A machine inside a school or university building can go almost completely dark for 3 summer months, generating close to zero revenue while still technically sitting there, still technically yours to maintain. An office building slows dramatically around major holidays. A factory break room stays remarkably steady year-round, which is exactly why experienced operators quietly prefer industrial locations over the flashier-looking retail spots everyone assumes are better. A route built entirely around seasonal locations can look wonderful for 9 months and genuinely struggle for 3, which matters enormously if you're relying on that income to be consistent. Most operators need 15 to 30 well-placed machines, each generating $200 to $400 a month in profit, to genuinely replace a full-time income. That's not 2 machines in a garage. That's a real, systemized small business that took years of deliberate route building to assemble. Let's talk about the hidden costs that don't show up in anyone's pitch deck. Vandalism and theft are a real recurring line item in this industry, especially for machines in less secure locations. A single break-in can cost you the entire cash flow, plus the machine's glass or lock mechanism, plus a full restock for a location that might not even be worth defending long term. Spoilage matters too, especially for anything perishable. A slow-moving product sitting in a machine past its expiration date isn't just a lost sale. It's a lost sale plus a wasted product cost. And every machine eventually needs real maintenance. Coin mechanisms jam. Card readers fail. Refrigeration units in cold drink machines break down entirely. Budget for repairs as a certainty, not an occasional surprise. Because across a growing fleet of machines, something is always breaking somewhere. There's a quieter second revenue stream that experienced operators have started leaning into. Modern cashless-enabled machines collect genuinely valuable data automatically. Purchase timing, product popularity, peak hours, repeat customer patterns. Some operators now offer small advertising space, a screen or a wrap on the machine itself, to local businesses wanting visibility in that same high traffic location. It's a modest addition, typically a few $100s a month across a route, but it's revenue that costs almost nothing extra to collect because the machine and the location are already there doing the work. Let's put some real numbers to an actual route, start to finish. Say you build a route of 15 machines over your first 2 years, investing an average of $4,000 per machine, $60,000 total. Average monthly gross revenue per machine lands around $450, a reasonably solid, well-placed route. Not exceptional, not weak. That's $6,750 a month in gross revenue across the route. Product cost at 40% is roughly $2,700. Location commissions averaging 15% take around $1,000. Card processing fees at 3% take about $200. Fuel, vehicle costs, and route time run $400. Ongoing repairs and maintenance across 15 machines average $300 a month. Add that up, and monthly costs come to roughly $4,600 against $6,750 in revenue. That leaves about $2,150 a month in profit, or just under $26,000 a year, on a $60,000 total investment built over 2 years. That's a real, meaningful income stream, especially once the machines are paid off. Though notice it took real time, real relationship building, and real route discipline to get there. It was never 2 machines and a nap. Now, the realistic scenario, because this business has a specific quiet failure mode, say 3 of your 15 locations underperform badly, either because foot traffic dropped, a competitor placed a machine nearby, or the commission you originally negotiated turns out to eat too much of the margin. Those 3 machines combined generate less than $800 a month total, barely covering their own product and commission costs, let alone your time. Meanwhile, a 4th machine gets vandalized, costing you $600 in repairs and lost inventory in a single month. Your route revenue for that month drops to roughly $5,200, while your fixed costs, fuel, remaining commissions, ongoing maintenance reserve, barely move at all. Monthly profit for that stretch can fall to $600 to $900, a fraction of your target on the exact same 15 machines that performed well the month before. This is the quiet failure mode of vending. It rarely collapses dramatically all at once. It just slowly bleeds margin through a few weak locations, one repair bill, and one bad commission deal, until an operator who assumed this was passive income realizes they've been unknowingly subsidizing 3 unprofitable machines with the profit from the other 12. The frustrating part is that nothing about that month looked like an emergency. No single event was dramatic enough to notice on its own. It's only when you actually sit down and compare the spreadsheet to what you expected that the real picture becomes clear. So here's the honest read on this business. Vending machines themselves are simple, well understood, low-risk equipment. The business built around them is not passive, and it is not primarily about snacks. It is a route logistics and real estate negotiation business where your actual product is convenience, and your actual skill has to be location scouting, commission negotiation, and relentless route discipline. 2 machines in the right hands can be the start of something real. 20 machines in the wrong hands, poorly placed, badly negotiated, loosely tracked, can quietly consume more time and money than they ever return. The 52% of operators splitting 7% of the industry's revenue almost certainly aren't lazy. They likely just believe the machine was the business, instead of understanding that the location, the route, and the relationship were the business all along. The machine was always just the delivery mechanism. Everything that actually determines whether you make money happens before the machine is ever plugged in.